To truly understand the immense weight and resonance of this book, we must first understand the unimaginable darkness its author endured. Viktor Frankl was a prominent, highly respected psychiatrist in Vienna. But in 1942, his entire world was violently stripped away. He and his family were deported by the Nazi regime. Over the next 3 agonizing years, Frankl survived 4 different, horrific concentration camps, including the infamous Auschwitz. He tragically lost his pregnant wife, his parents, and his beloved brother in those camps. He was violently reduced to a mere number tattooed on his arm, forced to stand barefoot in the freezing snow, continuously, and subjected to daily brutality. By all logical human measures, he had every single reason to surrender to absolute, crushing despair. Yet, in the midst of that freezing, starvation-filled darkness, the trained psychiatrist within him simply could not stop observing human nature. He noticed a profound and strange psychological phenomenon. The prisoners who survived the longest were not necessarily the physically strongest or the most well-nourished men. The ones who fiercely survived were those who held onto a tiny, fragile fragment of meaning. It was the starving man dreaming of reuniting with his loving child, or the desperate scientist determined to finish his life's work. Frankl realized that our primary drive in life is not pleasure, as Sigmund Freud originally suggested, but the profound, biological desire to find meaning. This harrowing, death-defying experience led Frankl to formulate 3 core philosophical insights that can completely transform how we face our own modern, daily struggles. The first and most vital insight is the concept of ultimate human freedom. Frankl eloquently wrote that everything can be brutally taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms. That is the precious ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of bleak circumstances. You may not control the sudden illness you are diagnosed with, or the terrible economic crisis that unfairly takes your job, but you miraculously retain your total sovereignty over how you bravely respond to it. The second insight is famously summarized by a Friedrich Nietzsche quote, which Frankl frequently used. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any hoe. When you clearly and deeply know the why behind your existence, the physical suffering becomes manageable. Transforms from raw, meaningless agony into a difficult, but necessary task you are willing to bear. The third insight is a dramatic, life-altering shift in perspective. Frankl famously taught that we must immediately stop aggressively demanding happiness from life. Instead, we must humbly realize that life is continuously asking profound questions of us. Our daily struggles, our emotional pain, and our frustrating obstacles are not cruel, random punishments by the universe. They are the important questions life is presenting. Our heavy responsibility is to answer those hard questions through our brave actions, our courage, and our quiet dignity. So, how do we practically apply these profound, heavy philosophical concepts to our modern, incredibly chaotic lives? The first vital step is to deeply shift your own internal dialogue. We are constantly seeking comfortable situations and aggressively demanding immediate happiness from the outside world. We selfishly ask, what do I want from life? But Frankl suggests a radical and difficult reversal of this tired, selfish question. Instead, pause quietly in the midst of your current painful struggle and respectfully ask, what is life asking of me right now? Perhaps this painful, devastating heartbreak is powerfully asking you to cultivate much deeper empathy for others. Perhaps that terrible, humiliating failure at work is life sternly demanding you to learn resilience, patience, and true humility. Secondly, you must actively seek out your own personal why. It does not have to be a grand, world-saving historical mission. It can be as beautifully simple as raising a quiet child with love, creating a small piece of art, or dedicating your mornings to a quiet, solitary craft. In the horrific nightmare of the concentration camps, Frankl found his personal meaning by gently comforting his fellow suicidal prisoners and rewriting his lost psychiatric manuscript on tiny scraps of stolen paper. Your deep meaning is found directly in the heavy responsibilities you choose to quietly and nobly bear. Finally, when faced with unavoidable, tragic suffering, such as a painful terminal illness or an unchangeable loss, deeply realize that your highest possible achievement is the quiet, unwavering dignity with which you face the storm. How You Courageously Carry Your Cross is your final masterpiece. As we gently and respectfully close the heavy pages of this monumental book, let us take a quiet moment to look deeply inward. The fast-paced modern world aggressively tells us that a good, successful life must be entirely free of all pain, perfectly smooth, and constantly entertaining. But Viktor Frankl proved undeniably through the darkest, most evil chapter of human history that life is never completely without profound meaning, even in the very abyss of suffering. Heavy, exhausting burden you are carrying right now is not a shameful sign of failure. It is the raw, burning material from which you are slowly forging your deepest character. You are not a helpless, fragile victim of your confusing circumstances. You possess a sacred, untouchable inner space between whatever happens to you and how you bravely choose to react. In that small, quiet space lies your absolute freedom. If Frankl could somehow find meaning and hope while starving in the freezing, brutal snows of Auschwitz, surely we can find the quiet courage to face our own fears today. Take a very deep breath, bravely accept the heavy questions your life is asking, and answer them with bold, beautiful action. If tonight's philosophical journey offered a small spark of light for your tired soul, please respectfully click the subscribe button below. BookDream will always be right here, carefully selecting the world's most transformative books to walk safely alongside you on your intellectual journey. Sleep well tonight, and may you find deep peace in your profound purpose.